Welcome back to the Bilal Vakani Hour, right here on Sirius XM 167, Canada Talks. Joined once again by Jay Stoyan from the Disability Channel. And it's a new year, but it's the same Jay. He's got even more stuff happening everywhere all at once. They might make a sequel of that movie with Jay. Jay, great to have you back. And I know you got a lot to share.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday season, everybody at Sirius XM. It just goes so quickly, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, it's gone.
It goes so quickly. So yeah, it's been a real bang to the start of the year. We have some great updates, great announcements, and it's all leading to employment, right? So that's what we're all about: employment for persons with disabilities and veterans. Speaking of veterans, I have to show off my hoodie. So this is courtesy Veterans for Healing, a wonderful veteran organization out on the East Coast, helping each other. Now we're heavily involved in supporting them. I tell you, Bilal, with meeting so many veterans over the last little while, it's just so inspiring. Like they're great people. They are. They're great people. We deserve to help them as much as we can. So again, by us doing this on a weekly or a semi-weekly basis, it just gets the word out. And I can tell you, people from across the country are listening, commenting on our Facebook page. So all the way from BC to the East Coast, I really want to thank you and Joe and everybody for supporting the channel. So regarding some updates, yes, once again, we are on the road to the Invictus Games. We're having ongoing meetings this month, just setting up the template, the details, which hopefully the Disability Channel is going to be involved in threefold. So production, so doing productions out in BC, doing media, hopefully here on this
Oh, yeah.
radio station doing.
Can I say, Jay, I'll interrupt you. It's funny because you say weekly appearances. It's not so much weekly appearances on my show, but it's almost daily text because you're such a hustler that you'll shoot me a text or get in a call. And, like listeners will hear you from time to time because I just can't dedicate a week of every show to you, even though I would like to. But yeah, when you say weekly, it's you and I are in touch weekly, if not daily. And then, from time to time, at least monthly, I get you on here. But anyways, go on.
Yeah, yeah. So it's great. So it's like we do that, and so we're involved in production. So production at the games,
Yeah.
media with a media heartfelt campaign showcasing all the great veterans and the success stories, and then hopefully now a new phase is entertainment. So I think the Disability Channel is going to be helping with musical entertainment as we've been talking to some of the biggest names in the industry regarding my song "Shining Light," where you can find it on my website. So it's lots is going on. We also received our media accreditations for the seventh year in a row to the Super Bowl. So we'll be at
Nice.
Super Bowl 58 with Dave Stevens. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on because he's going to be interviewing everybody again, from Mike Tyson to Kathy Ireland to Rocky Blyer to the names just go on and on. So that's going to be exciting. And what we're going to be doing, so we're going to be at the games, Bilal, we're going to be showcasing the employment opportunities at the Invictus Games for our employment program. So make sure you enroll, get a job in media in front of the camera or behind. So we're going to be showcasing the games. We're going to be showcasing our programs. And we're also just starting up in the 224 a 50-50 lottery draw. Yeah, so we're entering the lottery world. So we're going to be doing lottery draws either every weekly, every bi-weekly, every monthly. And the proceeds obviously are going to go 50% goes to the winner, and 50% is going to go towards our employment programs for veterans so we can offer more opportunities across Canada. We're in the midst right now of taking our programs across Canada. So lots of exciting news going on, and we're always looking for more opportunities, more volunteers, more people to enroll into our programs. So
It is interesting, Jay, because we're pre-taping this a week in advance. Everybody knows, but on the week I'm talking to you, Echo came out on Disney, which is a show about a hero who's deaf, and that's sort of her superpower is that her other senses are raised. And I was telling you earlier that same week we had DJ Demers in, who is a Canadian comedian who now he lives in LA. He had to do that to get bigger, but he has a show at the CBC called One More Time, which is just about a person who's hearing impaired, who runs a sports store. And we're starting to see some more of that representation. But I think, Jay, those are just two steps. And, I'm Muslim, I'm Indian, I'm Pakistani. So, I'll turn on, we were watching, I won't say which, we were watching a reality show last night, my wife and I, and I'll say, well, they could have cast one brown person. And then I'll look at it, they could have cast one Asian person. But I'll be honest, Jay, I didn't think about accessibility, right? And why can't you cast a disabled person on this show and hear their perspective on things, see how the challenges happen? And I did see that on the Amazing Race Canada. So we're seeing a little bit more of that, Jay. But we've got a very, very long way to go. Just and I know you deal with so much, but just on the topic of representation, you mentioned Dave going to the Super Bowl, and that's great because he doesn't have legs, right? And who else is there that's just like Dave?
Nobody. Yeah, nobody. So Dave is recognized. Well, plus Dave is such a whirlwind personality, a 20-year ESPN 7-time Emmy Award winner, interviewing everybody in the world. He's such a trendsetter and trailblazer, and he's so professional. Like, he's a one-man show. He can interview, he can shoot, he can edit, he can promote. He's very, very knowledgeable. Like, he's a sports guy, but not only sports, but he knows his stuff. Well, he's been in the business a long time, right? So he's got the scars, he's got the experience, he's had doors slammed in his face, like everybody else. But I really love the way you talked about giving people an opportunity. And what I think is happening, which is a good thing, is I think the stigmas and the taglines or the monikers for each sector is disappearing. Like, you no longer say, well, yeah, they're disabled, or they're an Asian person, or they're it's sort of disappearing, which is a good thing, because I think people should just be recognized for themselves, right? Recognize for yourself. It doesn't matter what you look like, what color you are, what sex you are. Just, hey, just take me as I am. I want the job, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and that's what I always think of is, you're hiring two people, and you have two people with very similar skill sets, which is going to happen in a good hiring process. And then one person brings something different. They could be diverse, they could be disabled, they could be both. And as a company, if two people are equally qualified, why wouldn't you want the person who has different knowledge? It's like when you go to the bank and they speak different languages, and then, people who've immigrated to this country, they can do their banking in their language of preference. And them having that service, which essentially costs these banks nothing. They just have to ask, hey, what other languages do you speak? Can we add that to the list? And, for somebody who, in that case, is coming to this country and just wants to do their banking, and their local bank has someone who will speak their preferred language, it's there for them. And it's just sort of asking that question. And I think what you're getting at, Jay, is it's just good business. Like, if you had a stock portfolio, you'd want to diversify it. You'd want to leave no stone unturned until you get lazy. But like, I think when you're running a company, when you're employing people, you want your workforce to represent the people around you. You don't want your workforce to be a monolith and to narrow cast to one group of people or a handful of people. Like, you want it to be as big a tent as possible financially. Forget everything else if you want.
That's a great point. It's very exciting. For me personally, I love learning other people's ways, other people's cultures, people who look nothing like me, did not grow up where I grew up. They have a totally different life. I think it's so exciting when you hit it off with somebody who's totally different than you, and you're going like, wow, like, that's really cool. Like, that's, wow, we don't even have that in our world. Like, wow, can you tell me more about that? But getting back to the employment thing, which is really good. Like, I really appreciate you giving me this window to explain, because we've actually created a couple new innovative ways. So obviously all of our graduates are either persons with disabilities or veterans who are also disabled. And so what we find is we're teaming up our graduates for one job. So a company needs a person for 40 hours a week, right? And we have two people with the same qualifications, but they can only work 20 hours a week. So what we're doing is we're teaming them up, and we're blowing the employer away, because they're going, wow, that's so different, and it adds an element because you get two people who are bringing two different ideas and two same skill set, but different skill set, if you know what I mean, right?
Yep.
And we're doing, and then when we implement the veteran angle, because again, I learned this from a veteran. He says, Jay, we're the first ones there and we're the last ones to leave, right? We get the stuff ready and we will not leave until the place is spick and span. And it's so true. So I would recommend everybody out there, if you're listening, contact me, the Disability Channel, and we will take you through the process. And I believe me, you will be happy, very happy that you hired one of our graduates.
And I think also, Jay, like we've had people at SiriusXM who have accessibility issues, and they've raised, some excellent points. Our old building didn't have a ramp; it was 4 or 5 stairs. And if you had any issue with your legs, how do you get in that building? Like to get to the elevator, you had to go up the stairs. And I think before we left that office, and we're in the new office, which is fully accessible, a ramp type system was built in, which it'll seem simple. It's just you add something or you put a different mechanism around it. But if you don't have people who are dealing with these things on a daily basis, it's not as easy for somebody like me who's able-bodied to even
You don't
think.
know.
I wouldn't think twice about going up 2 or 3 stairs. But if you physically can't do it, that's literally a barrier to entry to even visit a place. And I'm so grateful that we had somebody in our organization already who just said, hey, can we do something about this? And as soon as we knew, our people started to investigate that. And you've been to our new office, it's entirely accessible. Like there are no stairs, it's elevator, like it's everything. But we learned that lesson because we had somebody like that on our staff.
I always recommend to people who are constructing new structures, like a new building, a new office, make sure you get somebody who knows accessibility on your team, because if you're not disabled, like I say, out of sight, out of mind, right? Oh my goodness, I'm, and they're not trying to be ignorant or rude. They're not disabled, so it's not something they think about it. So it's always very important, to get either a disabled, like I would recommend get a disabled. If you're building something with accessibility, get a person who is disabled and needs assistance, like is in a wheelchair, because they're the ones that are the horse right from the horse's mouth, right? They can tell you right away that button, that access button is too high up. I can't reach it from my wheelchair, right? Or that little lip, that lip will turn my wheelchair over. Like that's what people don't think about. Sometimes there's a little lip in the road, and if you hit the wheelchair, it can go, you can go right over, right? And people don't realize that. So I really thank you for letting us showcase this. And again, if people want to find out more information, they can go to our website, the Disability Channel, for our programs. And also, if you're disabled or you're a veteran and you've lost your support system, give us a call. Give us a call, and we will become your best friends. Right? Because I know loneliness is so important. It's so prevalent in today's society, right? That it can kill you. It will kill you if you're just alone every day and every day. No. So give us a call. We want to become friends.
That's so beautiful, Jay. And I just want to add to that. You might sit there and think, why is this important? Why does Bilal do these segments all the time? Our lives can change. You or God forbid, someone you love, something could happen. You could wake up one day and have a disability. And even if you're, I consider myself fairly able-bodied. Honestly, Jay, I just bought a cheap couch when I moved into this place. And, there's a reason ND doesn't make couches anymore. And like I have a hamstring injury and I had to do physical therapy and I couldn't sit in the car for a lot of time. And, there was a stretch for pretty much a year where I had to adapt the way I did almost everything, just so I could be comfortable and not in pain. And it wasn't like I had a traumatic event or anything. I just didn't have the support I needed there. And again, that's not quite the same, but I
So
just
you felt
wanted,
it though, right? You felt it. Like you felt a little disabled. You felt a little
and
disabled.
and when we talk about accessibility, we're all going to get older. Stairs are going to become more difficult. Like I think we need to have a wider perspective on this, because just things change. And that's how, you know, I talk about the business, I talk about the accessibility, but just because it maybe doesn't feel as relevant to you now, none of us know what's in the future. And I just think people should always be expanding their mind. And when I come back to the example of shows, there are different stories to be told too, Jay. Like just dramatically, comedically. You know, I mentioned Echo and One More Time, two drastically different shows. And Echo is a very Indigenous focused show, so also it's got that cultural aspect too. Um, but everything from, you know, some great jokes in One More Time to just some badass fight scenes with some different elements. And even, you know, there's a scene early in that first episode of Echo where it fluctuates between what people are hearing and what the character who's hearing impaired is hearing. And it's such a dramatic change, and it recontextualizes your viewing experience. And like I can't recommend that enough to
I
anyone.
love
It's
that. I
just,
love that you said that, boy.
yeah,
That's
it's great.
amazing that you like. That's really in depth what you just said
Yeah.
there. Like that's really cool. I really like that. That's
Look, I'm
really,
a
you
big
know, that's yeah, made me think.
I'm a
Well, what you just said there.
I'm a big Marvel nerd, so I just get very in depth in all this stuff. But at least it worked for accessibility this time around. Go ahead, Jay.
Let's leave it with this because
Mm,
along with, I just want to get back to the society in general. So,
mm,
along with person with disabilities and veterans, I'll bring this point up because I'm living it every day. My dad is 90 years old. My mom is 87. They've never had any disability issues in their life, right?
yep,
Never, never, never. But now they both got walkers, and
yep,
they're one fall away from a serious injury or worse. But so it gets everybody, right? It gets everybody, and I have a real soft spot for seniors. I mean, because my mom and dad, but
yeah,
without myself and my brothers, and I live down the street from my mom and dad, so I'm there every day. Without me and my parents, say we don't know what we would do. And so I just want to, you know, give a big shout out to, hey, if you know a senior out there who doesn't have anybody to support them, give them a call. They again, they're lonely. They need help. They just want a friend. But you know what I mean? Because like my parents said, without their boys, my parents would be in a tough spot. And I know there's so many seniors that are living that life. So make sure you give a senior a call, or you know what I mean? I think that's very
yeah.
important.
No, Jay, I lost both my grandparents on my dad's side, and I won't spare people with the details. But I think the saving grace was, you know, they were together until their last 2 years ago, and then when one of them went, it became very difficult for my grandfather on my dad's side.
Yeah.
But he always had family with him, and when he kind of got to that point you described, he was able to stay with my dad and then one of my aunts, and he's just, you know, right up until the end surrounded by family. And I think, you know, he was
So
confused
important.
and other things, but at least, you know, the people around him were the people who cared about him and loved him, and he always had support. And I think
That's important.
that's what we should all aspire to when we get to that point, and what we should try to offer where we can, even if it's a very small thing. It can make a difference, because
It means a lot to them.
tomorrow's never guaranteed too. And you know, I'm glad I've only been married in the last 2 years. I got my wife out there. We met him, and at least we met him, because you know, next thing you know, he's gone. And
Yeah.
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 So,
Oh yeah.
anyways,
You know, I think next time I come
mm,
on, we're gonna lighten it up. We're gonna talk sports.
sure.
We're gonna talk wrestling.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk something else. Boy, this is like, if people
yeah.
are
Sorry,
listening to
Jay.
our conversation, they're going, "Oh my goodness!" Like, but it's
Yeah,
important, right? It's
yeah.
important that
You
we
know what it
talk about
was?
this stuff.
It happened around last Christmas, and then the first time I got to talk about it was a year ago on this show, and that was kind of the time I sort of processed it. So I think it's coming back. But you're right. We'll
Yeah.
leave it there. Jay Storm from the Disability Channel. Just Google it, get on there, find the website, follow Jay. Like, you're doing so much. Like I do my best to try to check in with you whenever I can when there's updates. But the best bet is just to go there, follow him on social, and just stay up to date, because you're doing great things. And they're also, as you said, fun, interesting initiatives.
Yeah.
And you know, you're a personable guy as well, and that extends to everybody you work with, and you bring out that personality with your great team. So I can't recommend it enough. Jay, thank you as always for your time.
Thanks, pal. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. I'll give you more
Absolutely.
updates next time.